Okay, good morning. We are on week 5 of our Connect Zoom, studying the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And last week we covered chapters 10, 11, 12, to do the math. And we talked about motivation was one of the really big topics. And learning that motivation doesn't stick. Your brain does not have the ability for you to be motivated by someone and then for it to actually glue in and stick and stay there for you. So that's why we were saying that you'll start exercising, you'll start, changing your mindset, a different diet, all these different things, working super hard at something. And then you'll notice that enthusiasm fades off, right? We kind of fall off the road into the ditch. And we often wonder, why on earth can I not stay up on top of this thing? And it's because motivation literally doesn't stick. We're talking about external motivation. So people can want it for you as bad as they want it for you. But if you don't want it yourself and it doesn't come internally, it's not lasting. It's super fleeting. And so that really stood out to me. We talked about the differences between self-talk and, the differences with hypnosis where someone else is in control, which that's not really what we want. Whereas self-talk, you are in control, and that's super important. So today we are going to start at chapter 13, and I already love the title. He says, if it's not simple, it won't work. Amen, sister and brothers. If it's not simple, it doesn't work, right? Life is busy. We have responsibilities. Sometimes we're just tired, and I don't want 1,500 steps on how to get more positive. Just tell it to me and tell me exactly what to do, right? And then we can make it happen. So that's the basis of chapter 13. He says, no idea, no matter how good, will work if it doesn't get used. True story. All those exercise machines collecting dust in the basement, right? All those what was that Thigh Master, that thing that everybody ordered online, and the ab roller and all these things, they do work, but not if we don't use them. And so there was a fascia blaster a little while ago that I bought too. The thing works amazing if I use it. It's leaned up against the wall in my bedroom. So all these things work if we use them. It's no different with mindset. It's no different with success in any area of your life. So he says, even with the most ardent self-improvement enthusiast, any program that takes too much time, requires too much sacrifice, and is too complex to use easily will not get used. How many self-help books have you guys bought? You fit them all on one hand? Because I cannot. Right? We buy self-help books, we buy online things, we buy all sorts of things, and the problem is we go buy the next one because we haven't overcome our problem because we haven't used the one that we bought, right? Amen? That's what happens. And so he's saying personal growth concepts too often fall into the same category as the home exercise machines that we use once and then they get put away. So on page 88, he says, wading through a personal growth program that demands a regime of diligence and self-sacrifice does not stimulate enthusiastic involvement, and even the simplest of programs can be hard enough to stick with. Have you sometimes been hard on yourself and been like, what is it with me? This is so easy. Why can I not stick to this? Or why can I just not fold that laundry when the dryer beeps? What is it that makes it so complicated? Or why can I just not eat veggies over the bag of chips that's in the cupboard, the carrots are in the fridge, right? What is it? It's so simple, and often we can't do it. So he says, he was saddened to see, as he was looking at some of this research, he says, I was saddened to see that the results that low self-esteem and negative self-belief were creating this problem in so many lives. He says, it was apparent that with a little effort on anyone's part, it did not have to be that way. That's super encouraging. Right? Super, super encouraging to know that we do not have to stay like this, does not have to be like this, but we do have to make a choice. He says, I also observed how few people who wanted to make a significant change in their lives had the determination and self-motivation to work at it. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Nobody can want it for you. You have to have the self-motivation. If you don't have to have it, that's what we're working on finding right now. That's the self-talk, right? That's the working with yourself, listening to yourself. What are you telling yourself? Because if you don't have that, we fall flat on our nose and we scrape our knees. So he says, unless an individual's predisposition to self-determination was strong enough, unless a person's hereditary and early conditioning created an attitude and a will that demanded improvement and change, the normal obstacles of day-to-day life stopped them short. That's why there's such a small percentage of people that are just those intense go-getters, right? And we look at them and we are like, you are my hero, but you make me exhausted, right? And they have this, they just seem to have this natural, we like to say they're full of P and V, like they just have this natural go-getter attitude. And then the rest of us are like, oh, and I myself actually have a little bit of that. I have a bit of that determined, and even for me, and sometimes I fall flat, actually a lot of the time. And I get exhausted too. And so what's with the rest of us, right? What are we supposed to do? So he says, most of us know that we could do better, but we don't. When we get discouraged, when we get frustrated, it's like was it last week that we were talking? I've had many conversations. I think it was us here together that last week we were talking, and I was saying that oftentimes we know that people want to do better, right? But we prejudge and we make we conceive, or like, what is with them? Why can't they this and why can't they that? And then we get this whole attitude surrounding it when really deep down, they know what they sound like. They want to be better, but they get hung up the same way that we're hung up, just in different areas. So he says, we're well aware of material advantages, right? We know what we want. We know the car we'd love to have. We'd love the yard, right, that we'd love to have. We know certain clothes. We know the material advantages already. He says we'd also like more time, more freedom, right? More time to travel, more time with your family, more time to relax and just do things just for fun. We know that all, and we want that all, but we get bombarded with daily life. So on page 89, he says, through a natural law of cause and effect, when we improve ourselves, the things we would like to have in our lives follow naturally. Improve who you are, and by the same law, you will improve your life. That's encouraging. Amen to self-help. The more successful you become inside, the more successes you will automatically create on the outside. Because remember, we talked about the sequence, right? How our feelings determine like our attitudes and our behaviors, right? It's all connected together. It starts with your feelings. He says, but making the changes on the inside is seldom and easily accomplished as we'd like it to be. Each of us has 3 resources that allows us to get through any given day. Your time, your energy, and your mind. Guess which one's the strongest? Your mind. Okay? We all have the same thing. No one says something different. We all have the same thing, and we are up against them every day. He says we're so busy taking care of things, first things first, that we have no time, no energy, or thought left to take care of the one thing that can make everything else work better. We are too busy fixing the train to realize that we are on the wrong track. We're too busy staying alive to figure out how to live. If you're going to write something down today, write that, because that was so good. I have it highlighted and underlined twice. We are too busy staying alive to figure out how to live. It's always I just got to do that one more thing. I am classic for that. I am aware of it. I am trying to overcome it, but it's always, I'll do that just after I finish that one other thing, right? So busy trying to make sure everything else is all in sequence, and here I am like at the bottom of the ditch, not taking care of the one thing that will help everything else be super smooth. And so he says even 20 minutes at night is sometimes hard to come by. We think, like, I just got to exercise 20 minutes a day, right? My Bowflex sitting downstairs, guys, 14 minutes is a max workout. 14 minutes. We bought that thing. We're like, we can do 14 minutes. Like, who doesn't have 14 minutes? How many times do you think I go down there with my 14 minutes? Right? Why is that so hard? And so he says, sometimes those little bits of time, you pick up a new devotional book, a new self-help book, you're like, it's just going to take 10 minutes of gratitude at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. How often do you do it? Right? How often? He says, holding down a job, raising a family, and just trying to get 5 or 6 hours of sleep at night is already a challenge enough. And so do you see where the rest falls by the wayside? Because we are always in this season. First you're growing up, then you're doing university, now we're getting married and having kids, and now we're grandparents and we're busier than we were when we were parents, right? And there's always, and then you're gonna be an empty nester, and then you're gonna go travel. Like, there's always something. And so gosh darn it, we have to decide today if you're gonna make this important, because I promise you, if you're not, it is not going to happen, because tomorrow is not going to be slower and next week is not going to be any less busy. So he says 20 minutes. He's speaking about himself. The 20 minutes I was supposed to spend each night working out my goal plan and improving myself soon moved from an exalted position of importance to an impossible chore. It's hard to study your goals when you can't keep your eyes open. And all the moms said, hear, hear. It's really, really hard when you're exhausted. And so it's like your business goals. It's like any goal. You're super excited, and then one day takes over, and then you're exhausted, right? And our mind's like, oh, I'm so tired. And then what happens to your goal? It kind of loses its flame, and you lose your excitement, and you're like, well, yeah, that gold rank, that'd be great, but whatever. If I get it, right? Do you see how the fatigue takes over? And then your brain will tell you, you weren't really going to do it anyways. And then all of a sudden, 3 days in, we're like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then you fall back into life, right? That is not why we were doing this book study, right? We are going to recognize that, and we are going to stop that, because we're just lying to ourselves. So he says the nightly goal idea itself might have been a great idea, but I was to learn later I was not mentally ready to make the idea work. I had not first wired my brain with the right mental tools to make the idea work. So the question is, are we ready? Are you ready? Ask yourself and answer yourself, are you ready? Some of us aren't sure, right? We got to be ready for anything to work. And if you're not ready yet, that's okay. You'll listen to the recordings again and again, right? But if you're ready, let's go. So the right tools, he said, countless people have tried the same kinds of marvelous ideas, right? But too few have stuck it out and stayed with it. Do they work? Absolutely. But do you have to stick it out? Holler yes. It takes consistency. Consistency compounds, right? Just like any supplements you take, anything else that you do. Consistency is going to be key. He said, despite desire, most people just don't have the right programs in place to actually keep going. So we want to, but we just don't. Our body is just not following. He says, we want to achieve, but we first have to rewire and replace, right? And then we can have. So the answer that's going to make one good idea work well when another will not. Here it is. For any personal growth concept to be successful, it has to be simple. It has to be easy to use. It has to be easy to put into practice, and then it will work. Easy is the word. Today, top of your page. Has to be easy, right? It's just where we're at. We're a culture that we are always on the go and we're always busy. It's got to be easy or we are not going to fit it in, I promise. So chapter 14 starts talking about the techniques. Okay, the techniques that make self-talk work so well. Okay, they're simple and they're actually surprisingly easy to use. Some of them require time. Some of them require no time at all. You're probably like, how on earth, if there's no time required, how's that going to work? Because that's the one that I want. Okay, there's 5 different ones. You get to choose which one you're going to work. I'm going to tell you some pros and cons of them, and I'm definitely going to tell you the one that works the best. But the beauty of this is jot down some notes on the different kinds, and then kind of weigh the options on what do you think is going to work well for you. Maybe you're going to combine a couple. So the first one is called silent self-talk. Okay, that's type number 1. It's a self-talk that goes on all the time. We're usually not aware of it. Okay, it can be either conscious or unconscious internal dialogue. So you're just talking to yourself, talking up a storm. And when you begin to replace one negative self-talk with a new one, it's one of the easiest and most natural ways to change your programming. Okay? Even already, guys, since we've started this book, you're already probably unknowingly using this. So what's happening right now, and Kathy has said it a few times, what's happening right now is you guys are aware, all of a sudden you will hear yourself think something, right? And then right away you're catching yourself, am I right? Okay, because we've talked about the different levels. So you're hearing yourself or you're hearing someone else say it. Okay, and then right away as you've probably already been trying and you're quickly switching it, like, no, that ain't true, right? So you're already actually doing this one. And so way to go. So he says, even now, okay, it takes more awareness than effort and soon becomes natural and an automatic because you just get better and better at it, right? When you know better, you do better, you recognize, you change it, you keep going, you're going to get slammed with another one, you recognize it, you change the words, you keep going. You don't have to do anything crazy, you don't have to stop your day, it's just kind of happening on the fly. Okay, silent self-talk includes anything and everything you think about yourself or anything that's around you. Okay, it's just a subtle shift in your attitude. Most of the things that we call our problems are really only perceived as problems, right? We were talking about perception. The way you look at each of them determines whether they really are a problem or not, right? And I love that. He says you need only tell yourself to see it in a better way. That sounds pretty easy. Not always, right? The problems we create, we're perceiving how someone else acted, what they thought of us, right? Things that hold you back. I promise you it's going to start with something, well, they might think that I'm. You're going to turn that around and you're going to say, no, actually I am. Remember the I am statement? And then you're going to bulldoze that one right over. And so that one's really good. Okay, so he says, remember when you begin rephrasing your self-talk from the old to the new, your old programming will try to talk back to you. It will bounce back at you. And what it's going to do, it's going to try to tell you that this is not going to work. It's an old friend. It feels comfortable. It's a habit. You're used to it. Okay, so you are going to have to put on your boxing gloves a little bit and you're going to have to push back, right? But you know how to push back now. And yes, it's like talking to a toddler. I just answered that question, but I guess I'll tell you again, right? So when you made the decision to throw out that old furniture, remember we talked about our mental apartment, we're throwing out the old furniture, we're bringing in the new, you are going to have to put your foot down and say, this is not coming back in my house. I took to the garage and it is not coming back in here, but you will have to be the one that's the final authority on that thought. So an example, I just can't seem to get organized today. You will immediately turn around and say something like, I am organized and I am in control, especially today, and carry on. About 3 seconds later, no, actually, I'm not organized. Yes, I am organized, and especially today, let's get this done, right? It's going to feel funny. It's going to feel a little bit weird, but you'll probably notice yourself laughing a little bit out loud, or someone's going to be like, you're sure smiling a lot. Yeah, because I'm talking to myself, right? It's going to feel a little funny. So another popular example, I just can't seem to lose weight, immediately becomes losing weight has never been a problem for me, right? I'm using my own words here, but, right, I know exactly what I can eat, right? I don't have trouble making these choices. The weight is coming off. It doesn't matter if it's not true. It doesn't matter if you prefer chips over veggies, but just tell yourself till it becomes normal. Okay, so instead of telling yourself you're tired, I used to do this a lot. At the time of day when you just can't afford to be tired, that late afternoon, first you have your pink drink. But then, Shad doesn't know that. You have your pink drink, and then you tell yourself immediately that you have plenty of energy and enthusiasm. Do you guys know that how you feel is completely mental and chemical? Did you know that? It is completely mental and chemical. It has to do with the adrenaline chemicals, right? The cortisol chemicals, the dopamine, all of those going through, and those are controlled by your thoughts. We're only stressed out when we tell ourselves, I'm so stressed. Your body doesn't just determine what is and isn't stress. If you walk into a grocery store and you're in a hurry, your body's like, doesn't have like red flashing lights that says, meow, meow. It doesn't do that. It's you thinking, oh my word, the Costco lines are so long. What does that do? Sends off the wrong chemical. What happens next? Your body feels fatigued. Okay, it's mental and chemical. He says, many of the messages you give yourself through your silent self-talk may not be super obvious. The thoughts that you think are electrical impulses that direct the brain to turn important switches on and off. And we talked about that at the beginning of the book, how we have that like electrical panel. They are flicking on and off all day long. According to the sequence, determines your energy level, your mood, and your overall health. And yes, I mean diseases too, because those switches are just going on and off, on and off, on and off all day long. But you get to determine the sequence, which is the neat part, and you can change the sequence if you don't like it. Number 2 is self-speak. Anything you say out loud to yourself or to someone else about yourself or anything else is part of your self-talk. This is the one that Kathy's been picking up on. It's the one that I pick up when my girls have friends over. It is loud and obnoxious to me. And I almost, now that we've been doing this, I almost want to put on those big earmuffs. And I just sometimes want to scream, like, do you know what you're saying? Little young girls, you guys, who here has teenage daughters? Little young girls saying, I suck at that. Are you kidding me? You're telling yourself at 12, 13 years old that you're no good, right? I'm not as pretty, I'm this and that. Is it a wonder why we have problems as adults? And then you hear adults, like, I can't do that. Like, I love that one. No, I can't do that. I can't, right? And then we're kind of frumpy and we're grumpy and we're not nice to other people and we're not nice inside our homes because of this constant negativity coming out. Like, we just like zip it. Right? Mama taught you if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it, but she didn't tell us even if it's about yourself. Because often we think that just relates to other people, but it actually relates to ourselves too. So, okay, telling a friend you don't like your job is not going to help your job. It might make you feel better by getting it off your chest. There's that element of, momentary stress relief, but long-term it helps nothing. How much better would it be if you could change your attitude by changing your programming? Okay, it's completely up to you whether you let the situation work against you or you make a decision right now and in that moment to change it and start to see things in a different way. Your self-speak and other forms of self-talk are determining the factors, right, that are determining wins and losses for you in every area of life. So he says, which of the people around you are the real winners in life, okay, and which are not? Listen to how they talk. The ones that are winning drastically speak differently. Do they also have struggles in life? 100%, absolutely yes. But what he's saying is they're choosing how they speak about them. It's not a wine and cheese festival. They are choosing how, that made me hungry for cheese, by the way. They're choosing how they speak about it. They're choosing how they're perceiving it. Do we all have battles? Absolutely. Do we all have joys and triumphs sometimes? 100% yes. But compared to people who are always complaining, I can never do this, never getting anywhere, can't this, can't that, don't have this, don't have that. It's out and out and out and out and out, right? And the ones that are actually doing pretty good, they're the ones you like to be around. And it's not because of what they have, it's because of how they speak and how they make you feel. Okay? So he says the better the self-speak, the better the score, right? Because it becomes as habitual as a walking, sleeping, riding a bike. It becomes natural and it becomes normal. So listen to everything you say when you speak. Do your words paint the picture you want your subconscious mind to see? And if not, we gotta change those words. Super, super important. If you're listening to yourself and you're like, that's not actually at all what I want for me, then the only way to change that is to change what you're saying. So some homework, write down in the next few days, write down what you hear yourself saying, because after listening to these, and you can listen to these recorded Zooms again, it's going to be much more audible, and you're going to hear yourself saying it. You're going to hear someone else saying it. Write it down on a paper so that you could actually look at it and stare at it and decide, like, I don't want this. This is not what I want. Okay, number 3, self-conversation. It's one of the easiest to use, and it can be lots of fun. And it's also going to be the one where people might want to admit you to the loony bin at first, because it's the one where you are talking to yourself out loud. Is that going to feel ridiculous? Yes. Yes. So you might have to go into the bathroom for the first few times when it feels completely ridiculous. And my kids have sometimes asked me when I haven't actually been doing this, but just like sometimes I think out loud. My husband will be like, are you talking to someone in there? And I'm like, did I say that out loud? It's going to feel funny. It's going to feel weird. Conversation is actually having a back and forth conversation with yourself. And that's why it feels so weird. You will ask yourself a question. You will answer your own question. And then you'll respond to the answer to that question. You'll ask yourself another question, right? So he tells a funny example in this chapter here. On pages 98 to 99 if you have the book, where he gets stranded in an airport because of storms. And all the planes are landing at this airport. The airport's filling up. They're being told we're going to have to sleep here, right? No one wants to spend the night in airport. It's the holidays. They want to get somewhere. So people are cranky. And he had been practicing this. So there were 3 seats where nobody was sitting. So he went and he sat in the middle one. That sounds like something I would do. Don't get too close to me. He went and sat in the middle one. And he says he just noticed this just like atmosphere was just negative and people were grumpy. And he started talking to himself. He looked to the chair to his right or left with nobody sitting there. And I'm going to tell you, what did he say here? He actually says what he says. He says, hi, Shad. Looks like we're grounded. Can you imagine what people would be thinking of you when they see you talking to nobody? And then he answered, yep. And then he turned to the other side and said, what would you like to do? And then he says, let's talk. Are you guys all staring at me like there is no way on this planet that I'm doing that? Because I'm kind of thinking that myself too. But he did it. And he said within moments, he felt his entire level of stress just dissipate. You don't have to sit in an airport and do this. But you can talk to yourself in the bathroom. You can talk to yourself in the shower. You can talk to yourself when you're in the car, right? Or walking around the house. It works super good. But it's definitely one that's going to be outside your comfort zone. But he says, he likes to call this shower talk, kind of same idea. So he says, tomorrow morning when you step in the shower, say, good morning to yourself. The key here, you guys, is out loud. And he says, say it out loud, say it with a smile on your voice, greet the day with your chin up, your attitude high, and tell yourself just how great the day ahead is going to be. Tell yourself, you look great today, you feel good, right? You're in shape, you're ready to tackle everything. You will right away start with just a better attitude. And then respond, because a conversation takes 2 people. You can talk to yourself, but then you have to answer yourself. And he says, give yourself an answer back, like, I feel terrific. Today especially, I feel good. I like who I am. I'm glad to be alive and I'm going for it. If you just did those 2 lines, what would your day look like? That took all of, 10 seconds? I know 10 seconds can be hard to find, like for real, sometimes. But could you imagine? Because even just if you say it out loud right now to yourself, we're going to actually do this together, okay? I want to see your lips moving. Okay? Tell yourself right now, you look great today. Ready? 1, 2, 3. You look great today. And then we're going to answer back. I feel great today. I feel terrific. Ready? I feel great today. I feel terrific. Did that make you smile? It just felt like a little lighter. It took us seconds. So anyway, so that's the self-conversation. So he said, why not start your day with the best attitude, right? Like, why not give yourself a great start rather than automatically starting on the right foot, because that is actually pretty easy. So he says one of the benefits of talking to yourself in this way out loud and carrying on a conversation with yourself is it allows you to ask questions and get straightforward answers. There is no one that's going to be more honest with you than yourself. And so he says when you first begin to talk out loud to yourself, you might feel a little strange or foolish, but in a day or two, the benefits are going to outweigh the embarrassment so much that you probably will never stop. And the benefits are going to be the way that you feel, right? You're going to know that, notice that, like even just now, your shoulders feel a little lighter, right? You sat up a little straighter when you said that because you weren't constantly weighing yourself down. And so that's where people, they'll just do it because they're like, this actually feels really good. So tell yourself that you're okay, that you are better than okay, and it is okay to go ahead and tell yourself that out loud, right? It's totally okay. You're your own biggest cheerleader. So I have a star here next to, you've got a pretty good friend in there who has been waiting to hear from you, right? Be a cheerleader for yourself. Number 4, self-write, like write as in writing with a pen. This is a kind of self-talk that you write out word for yourself. So it's the kind, it's like, right, affirmations, you write them out, you read them. This is a super good way to reprogram because it really enforces repetition. The one thing with self-write is you have to be careful on the wording. You got to be pretty good with words. You have to know which words to use for these affirmations to work. It has to be right in the right, we've talked about, it has to be in first person. We've talked about the words I am. That part's really important, and it's actually also the reason why people get hung up with this. And so he says, I began by writing out self-talk for each area of personal self-improvement and then establishing a daily routine of reading the self-talk to myself. It has to be done, though, guys, every day with necessary repetition for this to actually work. Because repetition is the key here. So you can't write them down and say them once a week, once every 3 weeks. This one to work, literally, it has to be done every single day. Because it's not the being aware, it's not any of that. It's like this is an actual task. And so to actually cement it in every day. He said the effectiveness is directly related and relative to the effort that you yourself are willing to put into this project. So unless you enjoy working with words and are willing to follow the rules of the wording that work most effectively, no matter how much you want to begin using self-talk, you could get stopped almost as soon as you get started. Don't worry though, I'm going to give you like an even easier one right away. But just to finish up this one, he says, for those who have learned what to write and how to write it, this self-writing is super effective at reprogramming. Are there ways to learn it? Absolutely. You could even go back a few chapters when we talk about the writing the I am this, right? Using first person. Super important. Jess, do you want to say something? No, she's good. Okay, she was just unmuted for a sec. Okay, it focuses your attention. It makes you think.
Oh, sorry, I can't get off.
That's
I don't know how to get back.
That's so good. Do you want to be muted?
But I can't see anybody. I don't know how to mute myself. Can you mute me, Heidi?
Yes. Okay. So he says it gets you actively involved in the process of erasing the old and replacing with the new, right? It's a tangible, it's something you can see, and that's why some people really like it. It is a great method, but like he said, a little bit harder for a few different reasons, but when used properly, super effective. Number 5, by reading this, I'm going to probably go ahead and tell you it's his favorite one and most effective, and it's recorded self-talk. The beauty about this one is it takes no extra time out of your day. And you're probably like, well, how's that even possible? Because you hit play and you carry on with whatever you're doing. You don't have to sit there with your legs crossed and your arms folded, with your headphones on, listening to it while life stops. Jess, you keep hopping on and off of mute. You get to just put it on. So here's how it works. He says, I decided to try listening to self-talk to help me lose weight. When you want to fix a problem, you have to fix more than just the symptoms. You have to give yourself a complete diet of self-talk covering every facet and phase. of your life that created the problem, or every area of your thinking that was trying and tying you, tying you to the old mental programs. He said, so I listened to self-talk that got me behind the symptoms and into the causes. He said the best part, other than the results I achieved, was that it didn't take any extra effort or time out of my day. I simply changed the part of the soundtrack of my life that was playing in the background. And it's the background that is the key. Because remember, your self-conscious is listening to everything around you, even if it's not yourself. So remember I was saying we went to the grocery store, right? Listen to what people are saying around you. Who are you spending your time with? Because subconsciously, those are all going in. So you have to be super careful about who you're allowing yourself to be around and who you're letting your kids be around. So listening to self-talk worked. He said, I lost weight. And the success of doing that eventually led to the realization that anyone could benefit from listening to recorded self-talk. So then he came out with some recorded self-talk programs. He was on Oprah Winfrey. He was on, I think it was CNN. Yes, CNN here. He was on radio talk programs. He was all over the place when he started coming out with this concept of recorded self-talk. So you guys have gone to YouTube, right? Les Brown has some really, really good ones. We've heard him at a Plexus convention. That's what he's talking about and letting those play over and over. You can go to Shad's website, which is shadhelmstetter.com, I believe. Let me tell you in 1 second. And yeah, shadhelmstetter.com. There'll be a bunch of info there for you. But it's super, super effective. So the thing about this that's really neat is it works even whether or not you believe it, is how I should say it. You don't have to be believing it in this moment for it actually to be effective. So there's a story in here about a husband and wife that were having lots of problems, right? They were kind of at the point where the husband was losing interest and he was just kind of quietly headed down the path of, we're going to separate here. Like, this isn't working. The wife decided that she was going to start listening to recorded self-talk. And if you want to read the story, it's on 107 and 108. And what was really neat was she started playing it. They were arguing a lot. It just wasn't a happy home life. She just started playing it and playing it and playing it. First week or so, he was showing disinterest, didn't care. It was on, but didn't notice, didn't care. Nothing changed really. Week 2, I believe it was week 2, her husband took her out for dinner, and they discussed the self-talk that she was listening to, but he still showed signs of disinterest. Okay? But she had learned from a seminar, and this is another thing you write down today. Don't worry too much about what other people around you think about your self-talk. Just keep doing it. Don't worry about what your spouse thinks. It's nothing disrespectful as long as you're not self-talking the wrong morals, right? Don't worry about what your sister thinks or your best friend or your teenager, because your teenager might be like, Mom, like that is so ridiculous. Okay? Don't worry about it. Just keep doing it. It's effective. So then she says by the end of the 3rd week, her husband asked her to replay one of the sessions that had been playing while they were getting dressed one morning. Earlier, she had noticed that they were arguing less, but until that morning, he had never showed any active interest in it. Shortly thereafter, her husband began to exhibit noticeable changes. The husband began to exhibit noticeable changes in his behavior toward her and his attitude that he was having about his job. That's important because if we're not happy in our job, we're coming home and we're bringing that with us, right? The end result was that both of them began to talk more. They started making new plans. They started working together. Her self-talk had the same effect on him as it had on her, and that's the point of this. He didn't want to listen. He didn't care about it, but it was playing in the background over and over and over and over again. There were probably times where he dimmed the volume. But the fact of the matter is that his subconscious was listening, and it was going in, and it was making an impact, and all of a sudden it started coming out in his attitudes and his decisions. Isn't that cool? So just think, what can you be playing in the background when you're with the kids, with your spouses, with your parents that maybe, didn't get the same type of information that we did, especially elders, right? They sit there all day long. Put something on for them to listen to. My problem I need to be better at, is paying attention to what's on the radio and playing through Spotify in the car. I will be the first to tell you, not super good at that yet, because I like country music, right? Playing stuff like this. Do the kids, when I started playing audiobooks years ago, were they like, do we have to listen to that? Yeah, we do. They eventually got over it. It became normal, right? It's not going to feel normal because we're not used to it. It's not going to feel normal for you to not listen to your favorite playlist on the way to work or on the way to groceries or wherever you get to go by yourself. It's going to take that like stretch and like, oh, I don't really want to push that, but I'm going to because I know it's good, until it becomes normal. Okay, so if you're feeling that way, you're like, we are all feeling that way, but it is normal. So anyways, it works. You don't have to focus on listening. That's the beauty about this. You can put this on and go about your business. That is how amazing the brain is. You go fold your laundry, you keep making supper, you can start having conversation with one of your kids or someone that comes in the kitchen. You don't have to be sitting there in total stillness. Your brain is still listening, even if it's on in the background. And that's why you want to do this. So he says, believing in the incredible you is a really good self-talk session that he finds super impactful. So it's called Believing in Incredible You. I did try to find it right before here, and I couldn't find the link yet, but I'm going to keep trying. But go to his website, and I feel like it's probably going to be on there. He says it's impossible to listen to that session without feeling better, thinking better, doing better within the first few minutes of listening. I'm going to tell you something. If you find it on his website and you have to pay a small fee, it is going to be worth it. It might be free. I don't even know. I got to look. But it will be worth it. So he says, if you would like to avail yourself of one of the most worthwhile methods of setting up your own future for the good, I encourage you to listen to self-talk. Does it feel like it would be pretty easy? Seems kind of simply so, right? Just putting something on. The only hard thing about it, it's not even that hard, is you just actually have to put that thing on. You got to open up your device and you have to hit play. After you hit play, you're done. Your responsibility is over, but you got to at least just push start, right? And then let it just take over. I used to go to bed and I should get back into this with earbuds in, and I would literally just push start, and then I would just fall asleep listening to it. So, and to the Les Brown ones often. So, okay, that was chapter 14. So some really good ideas. You get to pick and choose what you want to do. I personally think the recorded self-talk is probably going to be one of the quickest and one of the easiest. And I really like the self-awareness. Okay, so chapter 15 is the actual like getting started now. Okay, there's 3 steps in the process to getting started. And these are really key. So the first one is monitor. I'm going to tell you, it's monitor, edit, listen. The first one is monitor. Okay, you have to monitor your self-talk. You have to practice being aware of all your words and all your thoughts. And we've talked about this lots. I think you guys are getting super good at this already. Okay, so practice mindfulness. And that's just being aware, right? It not only helps you become aware of what you're thinking at all times, it also creates balance, reduces stress, lowers the volume of the amygdala, which is the brain's fight or flight system. Because when you're aware, you're not just allowing yourself to just be absolutely assaulted with anything and everything. You're being aware. When you're aware of your thoughts, you're not going to get as stressed out and frustrated at that person you were going to be mad at just a few moments ago, because you realize, you know what, this is actually my perception. I really believe that deep down they want to do well. They've just had bad programming. That's really different than saying, what the flippity flip is their problem? Right? You can just feel that all over your body when you say it like that. So we get to choose, but we have to choose. So just be aware. So monitor what's going on. Listen for any message you give to yourself that could wire your brain to work against you. Listen to both the words you say out loud and the words you say silent or think. So out loud would be your husband or somebody comes home, the kids come home. What are you saying out loud? What are you projecting? And then what are you saying to yourself when you're trying to put on those pants that are a little bit too tight? Or when you just got a message from a prospect that like really wasn't nice. Are you telling yourself, right? Or are you being like, that's okay, right? That's on their yard. Yeah, block. Bye-bye, Felicia. Right? We get to determine what we do with that. And so he says self-talk is going on in our brains all of the time, and you're usually aware of less than 10% of it. Do you see why the recorded self-talk is super critical? If you're only aware of 10%, can you imagine what the rest is going on? Okay, that's staggering. So you'll start to notice things you've been saying to yourself that could be working against you. And guys, it's brain science. It's just absolute truth. Step number 2 is edit. Okay, when you hear yourself using the wrong kind of self-talk, you have to immediately edit the message. You have to change it. In the moment, you have to turn it around and rephrase it. The key word here is immediate. Don't let that fester for the next hour and be like, I'll get to it. You have to recognize it. You have to switch it and make an edit and then keep going. And you're going to get really good at this, and it'll just take practice, but you will find yourself doing it without even knowing. So he says, when you hear yourself say something like, I've really got a problem with this, turn it around immediately and say, I can handle this. I'm a capable person. Right? It's nothing super complicated. Or how about, I just can't seem to lose weight. Okay, you're going to quickly spin that around. You're going to say, losing weight isn't a problem for me. Right? Amen to that one. Right? I can eat exactly what I should and only the right healthy amount. I'm losing weight and I look great. Okay? It's just how we're speaking to ourselves. Or are we hearing it and then not doing anything about it? That's actually usually where we get out. We hear it. We don't like it. We hear it. We know it. But we're not taking step 2 to actually changing it. And that's why we're staying stuck. Okay? Number 3 is listen. Learning new self-talk is very much like learning a new language. When you were first learning the language that you grew up with, your brain recorded the words and the phrases that you were hearing every day. How? With repetition. You learn and you pick up words. It's like learning the ABCs. How many times have I sung the ABCs as a homeschool parent, right? Repetition, repetition, repetition. It's like learning sight words. So same idea. Okay, they get wired in permanently. So this is really neat here. I have a starred. Shad says, as I mentioned, when I was first researching the subject of self-talk, I had a personal breakthrough. Okay, so this was with weight for him. He said, I wanted to lose weight, and to help me do that, I decided to listen to specially worded self-talk recordings that I played in the background for about 15 minutes each morning while I was shaving. He must have had a big beard, because that's a lot to shave. Okay, 15 minutes every morning while he was shaving. He says, by listening to the repeated self-talk phrases in this in this way each day, I was rewiring my brain to see myself in a slimmer, healthier new way. It worked. It changed my life. In the next 10 and a half weeks, I lost 58 pounds shaving. 58 pounds while he was shaving, 15 minutes a day. Craziness. He says, to this day, the weight has never come back. I got rid of the old programs that had caused the weight in the first place. And after all the struggle, after I tried so many other approaches, only to face one disappointment after the other, I finally found a solution that lasted. I got the positive results I wanted all along. By listening to the right self-talk, I rewired my brain. Does that not show you the power of the brain? Good golly. Okay, the key is repetition. Self-talk should be listened to in every home, everywhere, says Shad. Every home, everywhere. I need to start as soon as I get off this Zoom. Like right now, we're all going to be hitting up YouTube. Okay, the reason listening to self-talk is so effective is that it gives you the repetition that's required to rewire the brain, and it does so without you having to take any extra time. Okay? You don't need any extra time to actually make this work. The more often the same messages are repeated, the stronger the brain wires them in. Listening to self-talk each day while you're getting ready in the morning, could be driving in the car, going about your day, right? Just having it on in the background, going for a walk. It doesn't matter. Just have it on. It can be short. It can be while you're going to sleep at night. You find what works for you, but you have to do it. And he said to view a list of available self-talk sessions or to stream them to your device, just go to shadhelmstetter.com. Okay, super easy. All right, let's hear your feedback from today. What is something that stood out to you, or tell me of the types of self-talk that we talked about, which one do you feel like you could take home today and start applying?
I'm still stuck on 58 pounds shaving.
I know.
I need to let my leg hair grow so I can just
just stand there and shave forever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Are you also stunned by 58 pounds of shaving? What was your favorite type of self-talk that you heard today? What feels doable?
I suppose when you talked about, well, for me, I had someone be very rude and nasty to me the other day, and I don't know this person from a hole in the ground, but it did upset me. I let it get to me big time. And for about 3 minutes, I was like, this is horrible. Like, and I just let it get to me, those negative thoughts, right? But I stopped it. I was like, nope. Like Jessica said, I'm going to have to grow some tough skin or whatever, right, to deal with this, because it's not easy. It's not always going to be nice. And that was one person out of maybe 200 I added that was mean, right? So, and it's his problem, not mine, right? So I just got to keep telling myself that it's his issue, it ain't mine. So yeah.
Not on your yard.
Nope, just get that out of there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else want to share which self-talk stood out to you today? Which one you want to take home and implement? I see. There you go. Hi.
I find that I have old tapes that just kick in when anybody says something negative, and then it kind of brings me like boom. So what I've done is I've wrote on my mirror in the bathroom, and I have sayings in my office that I read out loud to myself. And then I'm also doing that thing where it says, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. Because it seems like I just get like stuck. And it's really helping me move forward. I really love this book study because it's helping me change the way I think and change my old tapes.
I love that, the old tapes, because that is exactly what it is. It's just those old cassette tapes playing over and over. Yeah, like the old record players, right? It's round and round in a circle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like how you've made it visual, because, you know, I think that's really important too. And I like the do it now, because often we actually have a really great plan in place and we know we want to do it, but we procrastinate, right? I'll just do that one other thing. I'll get to it as soon as I finish this, or as soon as I finish that, or message this or message that. And then who are we kidding? Like, it literally doesn't happen, because there's always, I love when people say, you know, I'm gonna take a look at this when things slow down, or as soon as life isn't so crazy. I don't know which train they're on, but I want to be on it, because my life hasn't ever slowed down yet, and I don't really foresee it. I think that's a myth we believe, and it's just a procrastination mechanism, right? Things don't slow down. Things will always come up. If you can't figure out how to do your business now, I'm sorry, honey, but you're not going to be able to figure out how to do it a year from now, because it's not to do with, you know, if it's not, you know, right, Joelle's moving and she's still doing sip and season this and that. If you're not moving, someone's having a baby, or someone's switching a job and someone gets sick. Like, these things happen, you know, they think, you know, your water pipes burst, and, you know, things happen. And it's just managing and how we're talking to ourselves, because unfortunately we don't know. Don't procrastinate today what we could, no, don't procrastinate till tomorrow what you could do today, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Today, for all you know, might be really calm compared to tomorrow. You know, we just don't know. But so if we can talk to ourselves like that, we can give ourselves, you know, that like, I am capable, right? I can do this, right? I am going to do this. then those priorities start to take over. And it's amazing how I start telling myself, I was getting pretty poor in the kitchen because I can do that, no problem. I just don't enjoy it. I'd rather be doing other things. I'd rather be on a Zoom like this than making spaghetti. But I started telling myself, right, I am really good at taking care of my family. I'm really good at taking care of my family. And do you know that this week the laundry is all done in my family? Every time I made a meal, I'm like, I did this. But I also got all my other things done. So I think it's just how I've been prioritizing my, and it seems you're probably looking at me like, Heidi, are you kidding me? Like, you're having trouble getting supper on the table? Yeah, some days I am. It's not that I can't. It's just that I was filling up my time with other things and then it feels hairy canary, But so I've been telling myself, no, like I'm really, like I am good at this. And so it's okay to pat yourself on the back because it'll just get things moving a little bit differently. So, okay, fantastic. So next week, it is Easter. So enjoy Easter with your families. We will take a 1-week hiatus from Zooms and we will be back on the following, that is the 27th, right? April 27th. And it is chapters 16, 17, 18. And I believe after that, then we have 3 more, oh, hang on. No, we have 3 more weeks actually total together on this book. Okay, so the 27th and then the following 2 weeks, and then we will be right at the end of the book here. And we have just been chugging right along, and we are going to come out of this so much healthier in our mindsets than we ever have been before. And we have the tools. We're just going to keep practicing, right? Rome wasn't built in a day, but 1 brick at a time, away it went. So, okay, have an amazing rest of your Saturday, guys. Amazing weekend. And wishing you happy thoughts. Happy thoughts. Write it down. Get some affirmations going. Okay, have a good day, guys. See you.